My father used to say, "Watch this man."
He's been cited by IGN, The Quartering, Timcast, The Daily Wire, Bounding Into Comics, and even Dr. Jordan B. Peterson.
Disney insider WDW Pro recently speculated on.
Time and time again, he's broken big entertainment news live on the air.
I've been following WDW Pro and his track record for years. If you want to find out what's on the horizon for theme parks, Pro is where you go.
Morty, let's check in on Rian Johnson's new trilogy.
Okay. I bypassed the compressor.
What did you do, Ray? Son of a... That's gonna leave a mark.
Now, he was okay, after 6-7 weeks. Okay? They get over it. Kids are resilient like that.
Yeah.
I hate it.
It's the standard, what would George do?
I don't want you here.
So sorry, George. I didn't think it would go like this.
Fly, you fools!
I've fallen, and I can't get up.
Weird. Stay away from liquor, kids.
I have always liked Cowabunga.
Now that's more like it, Mr. Wayne.
It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward.
The Force will be with you. Always.
That's how winning is done.
I am vengeance. I am the night.
That's what she said.
I am Batman.
If I won tonight, I would come home and we'd celebrate. Well, I'm coming home, we're celebrating. God bless you all.
Watch your habits, for they become your character. And watch your character, for it becomes your destiny. What we think, we become.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, in just 2 minutes, the lighting at the Magic Kingdom will dim for the performance of the Pro Show. We hope you enjoy and have a magical, truthful time. For the safety of others, please, no flash photography. And welcome to Provision 3D.
Alright, everyone, put on your puppy glasses. Oh boy. Shut up, I'm so excited.
Keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.
To all who come to this happy place, welcome.
You know that you've been taught the golden rule, do unto others as you'd have them do unto you.
Yes, Paul.
Autobots, roll out!
I'm bringing the party to you.
If somebody's going to try to blackmail me with advertising, blackmail me with money?
Fortune and glory, kid. Fortune and glory.
We're gonna do it!
All right, it's time to go to school, son. Come on, get your hands up, man.
Are you okay?
They'll never take
freedom!
From the redwoods of California to the hills of Tennessee to the Rockies and the Sunshine State and Maine with that bright and shining sea. From coast to coast in North America, it's time for your host with the most, bringing you all the entertainment news that should be fun. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the WDW Pro Show! Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a Saturday evening special event. It's the Pro Show Live, and we are not usually live at this time. Jonas J. Campbell, are you all snuggly up in bed? Pajamas already on? Wearing your Ninja Turtles and Superman stuff?
That's right. It's a three-dog night here in the Midwest, and I have several of those dogs at my feet. Just sitting here looking at the Netflix selection screen. I just can't decide what to watch tonight. Oh, wait, that's why I'm on YouTube watching the Pro Show.
That's right. And Jonas, I hope that your dogs are not barking too much. We would hate to find out that you're feeling all down and out, because we have a show that is nothing but positivity, and we're ready to bring it to you. Jonas, before we get started today, might you perhaps bring on some expert panelists to help us navigate these waters?
I would be glad to, but as long as we're talking about this, we do have multiple streaming options at our disposal that we have not used. When is X going to give it to them?
Wait a minute. You're telling me we have multiple streaming options? This is complicated. Hang on, let's go to the experts.
As a duly designated representative of the city, county, and state of New York, I order you to cease any and all supernatural activity and return forthwith to your place of origin or to the nearest convenient parallel dimension. That ought to do it. Thanks very much, Ray.
All right, well, that was just as clear as what we're talking about. What do you mean we've got multiple streams and beams and don't cross them? What are you talking about?
Well, I was just thinking about the fact that there are other platforms, certain green ones, or even X here. But of course, I'm taking your meaning from the clip that you don't want to cross the streams.
Jonas, are you telling me that we're not, in fact, streaming live in Zimbabwe right now on their local internet?
I do believe they have the YouTubes in Zimbabwe, but what they don't have, at least not yet, is Mr. Vash Sky. Vash.
What do you mean? If he's on the show, then he's also in Zimbabwe. That's the joy of the YouTubes. You're everywhere.
I said it, but now he is. See, this is you're not thinking fourth dimensionally, Pro.
4D chess engaged. Welcome, Vash.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Yeah, they might have me virtually, but they don't have me physically. See, this is why I am here, so that you can have all of everything I have to offer mostly on subjects that are later in the show. So that's great.
Well, the female demographic just exploded as women find out they can have all of Vash if they just come here to this show. Get ready, ladies. All of Vash is about to be yours on this Saturday evening.
I do need to point out somebody who does think fourth dimensionally. Great Scott, he does think fourth dimensionally. He's our good friend, Marty Stone.
Hey, I'm just lucky to be here, aren't I?
We're happy you're here.
Like a regular Charlie Buckets. Now, one thing that is missing from this trilogy, of course, is a bolt of lightning. And what is the sound of a bolt of lightning but Nolan Thunder?
Hello, everybody.
Thunder.
Hello,
Nolan.
I was doing some research here before the stream. I was kind of looking at not as much, you know how back in the times of our ancient ancestors.
How far are we going back, Nolan? We going Roman times, Greek times? What do you want?
It can be about in there. You know how they tried to predict like the weather and stuff. Well, I was researching one of our greatest prophets of past times. It was called they were called the Bee Gees, and they predicted something called the night fever, and I think that's what we're embarking on right now. So kind of high.
All right, folks. Bee Gees references are flying, and that means we're flying high. Jonas, there's only one thing that can keep us dancing even more, and that's super chats. And let's put them up on the screen, and then we've got tons of news to hit. But folks, you're here, of course, for the Arcane review. Don't worry, we're going to give it to you, and we're bringing it hot, fresh, and live. First, the Super Chats.
Yep. King of the Monsters, 1954 for $1.99. I'm proud to be an American.
Where at least I know you can go fund yourself.
Go fund yourself, Bob.
But
that's
not
right.
King of Monsters. King of Monsters is funding us. Ewan Cumia gifted 1 WDW Pro membership. Thank you very much, Ewan Cumia.
Thank you, Ewan.
And WDW Pro gifted 5. And Butterbiscuit92, member for 11 Pro. When will you get a new intro? And I pray this isn't a 2-hour stream.
This is
12 hours, didn't you know?
Stream, although that would be a joy. But Butterbiscuit, those intros take a very long time. Lots of man hours go into making them. I think, although I don't want to promise, that we'll have a new intro for December for the holidays. We'll see. We'll have a Yuletide Christmas intro, I think, but I can't promise that yet, folks. Don't hold me to it.
And Aldo Casabona for $1.99. First time this early, I said, why not Super 2? Thank you very much, Aldo.
And you know what? I say super every chance you get. You'll feel this way soon.
We need rest. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is spongy and bruised.
All right, folks, we are getting ready to dive into some serious content today. As you all know, we have been underway with live reviews. It's been something that people have really, really enjoyed, whether it was The Acolyte, whether it was Agatha. People have enjoyed watching us be in agony, and I've been saying for a while, we're ready to cover something that is actually positive. Well, folks, we're positive that we'll be covering Arcane, but before we get to that one, would you all humor us, please, if we do something that just must be covered? It's more dismal Disney, and we've got to talk about it. Folks, we're talking about The View to start off with, and then we'll get to Arcane, but you just won't believe how nutso they've gone. It's, well, it's something to behold, and we're going to behold it right now. It turns out that by the end of the first week of the election, the ladies over at The View had lost their ever-loving minds. And guys, we're going to break this down for the audience so that they can understand just exactly how Fruit Loops they have gone. Get ready. Let's dive in. We'll pause and do commentary. Here we go.
I think that I'd like to reframe the conversation. I think Bernie Sanders is wrong. I think the more relevant question actually is, what is wrong with America?
I love this show. I mean, you just can't make this up. The idea that you're going to get in front of everybody wearing whatever that is. It looks like the Michael Jackson jacket from Thriller met a piñata. You get up there with that on and you say, screw America, baby. That's going to work. The advertisers love it. You know that Tide, you know that Mr. Clean, you know that Mr. Bubble, all of those household products advertising on Disney's ABC in the midday. You know they love this. They just, please insult Americans more, The View. I gotta love it. Here we go.
I think what is wrong with our country, that the Republican Party would choose as a candidate and support a candidate who is an insurrectionist, who is an election denier, who is someone who is twice impeached, 34-time convicted felon, someone who has...
Hey guys, you know what's happening right now? Call in the SEALs.
That's exactly.
Sexual misconduct by 26 women found liable for sexual abuse. What is wrong with this country that they would choose a message of divisiveness, of xenophobia, of racism, of misogyny? Over a message of inclusiveness, a message for the people, by the people, of the people. That is what the problem is.
Why don't we just admit, ladies of The View, that what you think is that Americans voted for everyone to suddenly combust, that we're all going to get cancer and just combust. That's what, you know, and we had the option of voting for rainbows and sunshine and feel good times, ice cream on every single corner, and it comes with sprinkles, but not those kind that get stuck in your throat and bother you. No, the actual tasty kind that you've never found a single time at a single ice cream parlor. That's what the contest was between. Combustible cancer and ice cream with sprinkles. And those dastardly Americans, they chose combustible cancer, darn it. That's the Sunny Hostin. That's the degree to which she went in depth of her analysis for the election. Guys, have I missed anything? Why would anyone watch this show?
Because they're addicted to rage, and it's on at the time, and they've forgotten that there's better things to do than listen to this woman complain about America. I'd like to posit a theory that The View probably wouldn't realize is playing into the election. I think The View is actually to blame for Donald Trump's victory, in part because I think everybody looks at these people that just complain and complain and complain, often about nothing. So when they complain about something that should be of substance, when they complain about nothing in the same way that they complain about something, it all just mixes together and becomes noise. Like that long list of factually inaccurate claims that she just made about Donald Trump. It just bleeds together as a mess of, no, we just hate him. We don't care if it's not accurate. We just hate him. And also, you're just as bad as him, by the way, the viewer at home.
Reminder, real quick, Jonas, just a reminder, we don't do politics. It's not what we want to do. But what's bizarre is these women all work for Disney. This is Disney's daytime news show, and they're unhinged. Vash, did I hear you coming in?
No. That was not me. But I will say, they are definitely unhinged. And I would actually agree with Jonas a little bit right here. I think The View might have played a role in part getting Trump elected here, because it is looking at the popular vote and looking at the vote demos and breakdowns. I think Trump won white women by a fair margin, and they would be the ones probably most likely predisposed to watching The View. I don't want to make any generalizations there, but it's the response to this foaming at the mouth here that I think people might have been reacting to when casting their ballot on Election Day.
Well, as we watch more of this panel, what I want you to think about is how much longer is The View going to be on television? Because I think it's a legitimate question at this point. These women have nothing to add because they are so bad at analyzing and understanding reality and the society in which they live. They missed this election by miles. And now, rather than learn anything, they just screech angrily at something they don't understand. They can't add any extra analysis because they don't have any analysis. All right, let's watch. And remember that when we come back, I want to ask you all, when do you think The View is going to end, if perhaps it may in the future?
On the popular vote.
But can I say something before we can do a second? The Democrats are the ones. They are the party that cares for the blue collar voter. The Democrats are the ones who put in Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, union protection, ACA, unemployment insurance, and
I like how she has a piece of paper. This is the technology here is wonderful. They've got a piece of paper to read the talking points. They're campaigning after the campaign is over.
Obamacare. The Republican Party doesn't give a rat's patootie about
clearly
it.
they didn't convince the voters.
So all I can deduce is that it's the messaging. It didn't get through to people. They're not paying attention. That's all. Yeah, because the Democrats have always been for the working people.
Exactly. And the Republicans don't care. I think the message of the Democrats sounded elitist. You don't have value in the society.
They
you don't
sounded
have
that way, but when you look at the proof,
but Joy, it's condescending.
I can't understand what they're saying. They're all screeching over each other like little hens in a hen house who just want to pluck each other, just want to pick at each other, they just want to.
Whoever this is on the right hand side of the table is absolutely correct, though. She's pointing out that they've lost touch. The Democrat Party lost touch with the people that they would purport to be representing here. The Democrats think they're the working class party, but when the working class people hear someone say the things that the Democrat Party has been saying about, let's say, biology, the working class people go, "Excuse me, what?"
The writing was on the wall when the unions failed to endorse Kamala Harris, at least the ones in Nevada. I mean, that was really the kind of the pivoting point of working class party versus the elite party. And by the way, when you're looking at those celebrity endorsements, what does that tell you?
Nolan, I've got bad news for you, sir. You are not the demographic of The View when it comes to audience. But I've got a question for you, Nolan, and that is, how much longer can this possibly go on? Like, this is for Schadenfreude, for those who enjoy watching them just sit there and babble on, fine. But in terms of quality, there's none to be had here. They're just angry.
Well, I think they're already saving some money in their budget. The fact that they're using Jimmy Fallon's audience in this show as well, that's probably helping them out a little bit. But I think it's just going to keep going until the money runs out. And if the things that are going to possibly be getting implemented under the new regime for the new figure coming to the White House here soon, if they're in danger of having all their advertisers be yoinked out of funding for this show, it's just a matter of how long the dollar can run, because we know Disney as a company are going to run this until it's basically in the ground, because Bob Iger wants to keep pushing this stuff. But if there's no money to be had, then I think it'll be out. Maybe give it another 2 years on the air, if even that. That's my prediction.
All right, Margin, I'm going to come to you after this next clip. Get ready. Here we go.
Condescending. There is a
condescending.
The way that the left speaks to its voters. It really is
a message of joy and inclusiveness.
No, the message of not being educated, being dumb, and what's wrong with America.
Who said that?
Sunny just did.
What is wrong with
Joy.
America?
My point here is that
that's not what Kamala Harris said.
No.
I still can't get over that anyone would wear a Michael Jackson Thriller jacket that was made from the skin of a piñata. That's cruel. Where is PETA? Who's protecting the piñatas?
No. My point is, I don't blame Joe Biden. I don't blame Kamala Harris. Go back as far as you want. I blame a messaging within the Democratic Party.
You don't blame the Republican Party.
Can I just finish my point?
You notice how they're eating each other alive, basically? Like, they're turning on each other, and they're supposed to all be allies in this at a time where their whole fundamental reality is being shifted from their bubble is being popped, and all they're doing is backstabbing each other. I don't think that's healthy.
Guys, I mean, can you imagine if you watched a football game and after the game, somebody comes on and says, I don't blame the losing team. I don't blame the losing coach. I blame the messaging about the game. Like, this is, and then somebody else comes on and says, you don't blame the winning team? Like, what in the world? I mean, the semantics, the mental gymnastics that is happening here. And it's not entertaining. It's sad. It's just sad. Martin, help me out here. What do you think about it?
I think maybe these ladies do very accurately represent the society they live in. It's just not the society I live in. They're all upper middle class ladies who live in mega cities. They all share the same opinion. These are the same people that run the publishing industry. These are the same people that are highly represented in HR departments. It's just two worlds.
Two worlds indeed. Let me tell you, I'd rather be in my world than their world, because my world is accurate and theirs clearly is not. All right, let's play just a little bit more of it, and then we'll wrap up The View, which maybe Disney is going to be wrapping up The View in a few. We'll see. Here we go.
Please. I obviously have a problem. Anyone has a problem with Donald Trump. The bigger question should be,
anyone?
Except for America.
yes, Sonny, why did they vote for him?
Yes.
In sweeping,
So they need to be introspective.
No, we need to be introspective. If we voted for Kamala Harris, we need to say what didn't resonate with the voters. Do you know what didn't resonate with the voters? When they were saying we don't feel safe, and the left focused on defund the police and bail reform. Yeah. When they said we're worrying about, can I just finish? Let me just finish real quickly. When they were focused on renaming,
an hour show, ladies.
Joy. When they were focused on renaming schools, there were people saying, hey, students are destroying colleges. I paid for that. I sent them there. They can't learn. And everyone apologized for it and didn't want to attend to it. They also denied the border was a crisis and kept saying, no, it's fine. This is not a...
There was a border bill, though. There was a border bill.
Yes, but Joy, my point is they screamed and screamed and screamed. They didn't vote for him because he's a racist or a...
Not a single one of these women predicted what was going to happen. Not a single one of them really has any idea of what happened. None of them understand the ramifications of what has happened. They are without their talking points, and they are hopelessly meandering through a wilderness of confusion. And I just don't know if that's worthy television to be watching. And I don't know how long until Disney pulls the plug, but I'm here to tell you, this is an embarrassment to Barbara. Like, seriously, this show, when it was started, was at least watchable. This is borderline unwatchable. This is, I mean, it's bad. That's really bad. Guys, I'll give you a last chance to chat on this one. Anybody got any takes on The View and how long it might last? I mean, surely.
I think it's going to go on for a while. I think it's probably a profitable show. Other than the hosts, there's not a lot of cost to this show. It fits in well with the agenda of ABC News, but at the same time, I haven't watched it since Norm Macdonald tore those broads apart 20 years ago.
Oh, how
beautiful,
Norm!
Now that is a clip I wish we could react to on here.
It's gonna be around for a while. I do agree with Martin. It does appeal to a certain demo, and them voicing out their frustrations that they are now. I mean, that does appeal to some people who are very frustrated with what happened. But again, the view that they provide, see what I did there, might not be one that perfectly comports with the reality on the ground, which is how does the Midwest feel? How does the Rust Belt feel? How does the various demographics who actually went pretty hard for who they did go for on election night, who they represent.
The majority of the country feel? That's what you need to start asking.
Right.
Jonas, I'll tell you something else we need to be asking. Where are those super chats? Let's get them up on the screen, and then we're going to do the Arcane review.
They're right here. Elijah Snow for $4.99. Pro advertisers do want this. Pharma needs to distract them from what could happen here. Disney too. This is doing what the advertiser desperately wants. That is true. Scared people are easy to sell to.
The fantastic part about this, though, Jonas, is that one of the real worries from the left is that a Trump administration under RFK may strike the ability for medications and other big pharma products to be sold and advertised on TV. So that could create a huge conundrum. And guys, I know, by the way, that The View has great ratings. I just don't know that it's worth it. And I think that you can put other shows up on, the midday and get similar ratings without having such embarrassing people sitting at the chairs. I think you can do it better with others. That's just me, though.
Well, as long as Joy Behar doesn't ask for too much money, she'll continue to be there for as long as they will have her. I think this is a show that it has to stay below a certain cost threshold. And the good thing is it doesn't even. It's not like these self-important reporters. If someone is angry enough that they think they need more money for the show and they don't get that money, then it just becomes another time bomb on the show itself. So the drama just adds to it.
What time does it come on, Joe? Is it 11?
Yeah, you'll have to forgive me. I
think
don't
it's
actually.
11. I could be
I think
wrong.
it's technically in syndication, so it may come on at different times in different markets.
I think somehow it's on every time I'm in a doctor's office.
I'm so sorry. Let me just say, though. So, not on ABC. On CBS, they've got The Price is Right. Here's an idea. On ABC, just see if you can borrow the Plinko game. Like, get a duplicate and just have Joy and Whoopi play Plinko for an hour. It'll be higher intelligence, much better in terms of positivity. We'll still have the seals clapping because they can drop the little token down and it tick, 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 and it lands in the thing. And then all the seals from The View go, and everybody's happy.
11 a.m. Eastern time, by the way.
And they can put Donald Trump's face on the little Plinko chips so that they can get whatever joy they get out of watching him hit the little pegs on the way down. There you go.
Samuel Maid, by the way, gifted 1 WDW Pro membership, as well as Osmora 199.
Now that is what I'm talking about. Thank you for those gifted memberships. Very, very kind of you.
God dang it, from the bottom of our hearts here on the WDW Pro Channel, thank you.
And also Butter Biscuit, who is a frequent contributor over there on that game place. Butter Biscuit is always telling it like he sees it. for 5. So at 10 o'clock at night, you feel the need to subject us to 4 screaming banshees? Can we get to the Arcane review? I don't think we showed up for the view.
Oh, nobody ever does. But as was said about the doctor's office, it's always on. No. Okay. We'll get to the Arcane review. Guys, are we ready for this? Nolan's a big fan. Everyone here is a big fan of Arcane Season 1. So what did we think about Arcane Season 2? Well, you know what? I'm going to start with Nolan. Nolan, we have been watching hot garbage for the last months. We on the Pro Channel, let me just tell you, we have had to do live reviews of Acolyte. Then we had to do live reviews of Agatha. Acolyte got something like a 1.2 overall for the whole series, and Agatha got a 0.9, 0.7. I don't remember. It'll be the lowest ever. Nolan, now we have Arcane, and Season 1 was phenomenal. Season 2 is here. We've got the first 3 episodes. You've seen them. I'll let you begin. Give us a recap of what happens, and then we'll get into what we think as far as the show's quality.
Oh boy, I'm in charge of the recap. Okay, so basically, you got this crazy thing going on here where you have these 2 sisters. And
sorry, you can never say a crazy little thing called online without us saying love. Say rule of the internet.
But you got these 2 sisters. You got Jinx and you got Vi, and they're both they're living good. Everything's good, and then a tragic accident happens, and Jinx accidentally murders their family, and things
Joker mode. She goes Harley Quinn.
Yeah, it gets a little rough there, and they kind of get separated apart. It's a complicated connection. It's kind of like when you go to Thanksgiving, the family's a little bit shattered. There's some drama, except these people actually literally attack each other, and there's like a whole plot line about how you have like this upper class, super rich city, kind of like Coruscant and Star Wars, and then you got the slums, the poverty area, and these areas don't get along very well. Well, you see, our protagonist, antagonist, whatever you want to call her, Jinx, I guess antagonist. There's a bunch of leaders, and they're about to make like a big peace treaty finally. And what happens is she shoots a cannon that has like a shark on it into the building. They're about to sign the peace treaty, and kablooey, everything goes, and a bunch of people die, and it's really sad. And now she is the blame for that. And that means, okay, no peace because you just killed all the leaders. So now she's like target number 1. And the one in charge of trying to seek her down is actually her sister. So there's a complicated thing going on. There's a lot of different political figures involved who are attached to very powerful people across like the nation or the world they reside in. There's some stuff going on with some weird like liquid stuff that might... Yeah. Rachel would find it weird. Liquid stuff that's kind of like, it kind of changes people. League of Legends, I am by no means an expert. My experience with the games was I paid like 20 minutes of it when my cousin introduced it to me a few years ago. But as a newcomer coming into this show, you don't have to really follow the games in order to get this. I mean, it's pretty deep. It's a story about family. It's about political drama. And it doesn't come off, though, as preachy, like it's trying to preach politics. It kind of shows like a good reflection of the real world where there's a bit of a divide between different portions, people living in different eras. It has to do with rulership. It has to do with connection to family and how people get through very hard times. And you're going to see a lot of characters from a lot of diverse backgrounds, and it tugs at the heartstrings, this show. It is extremely well written. The animation is beautiful and has some of the best character designs I've ever seen on a show. I hope that summary made sense.
All right. So we've got we've got a pair of sisters here, which when you've got 2 sisters, you've got a pair. So suffice to say, and they're a dichotomy. So on one side, you've got the protector who has lost control of her younger sister. And on the younger sister side, you've got psychosis manifest. So you've got the anarchist in the younger sister, and there's all kinds of background as to why that has played out, but there's guilt and trauma and all of that. The show takes on a tremendous amount of traumatic introspection as to how and why people do what they do. And in season 1, the whole story was about overcoming the childhood trauma that the two sisters had, with both of them taking divergent paths. And in the end, you had a conflict that created mass destruction, death, chaos, etc. In season 2, yes.
Wait. So you weren't kidding when you said that the Acolyte was pretty much trying to ape the style of Arcane.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No doubt.
And it failed at it.
Yeah. In season 2, I'm going to say that gets muddied up a bit, and I'm not going to be overly negative about this. So hang tight, folks. Don't worry. We're not in Acolyte or Agatha territory. But what I think has happened here is that whereas season 1 was absolutely tremendous in just about every way possible, I think there's 2 errors that have been made that make this thus far not quite as good, but it's still pretty darn good. The first thing is that in season 1, some of the best moments came when the show would have sort of very modern music, and they use a lot of reverb. It sounds almost underwater, and they'll combine that with tremendous visuals. And those were some of the highlights of the first season, but they were very sparing. In this one, it's like 2 or 3 times, I guess 2 times, an episode. So that's about 6 times we've done that in the first 3 episodes. And so what that seems to be pointing me towards is that they learned the wrong lesson from season 1. And it's not to say that it's ruining anything, but it is to say that they've taken something that was fantastic when used sparingly, and they've decided, people love it, let's do that all the time. Well, people love crescendos. People love finales to fireworks shows, but if you do it over and over, then it can be quite a bit. It's very jarring. And so they lean too heavily into that in the first 3 episodes of season 2. The other issue that I have with season 2 thus far in Act 1 comes down to a philosophical issue. And that is that I think that when they were looking at season 1, somebody somewhere decided that they were going to push this into more woke territory. And I'm going to explain that. So in season 1, you had the situation where the 2 girls and others were being raised by somebody named Vander, a very strong paternal figure. And then the evil bad guy in the underworld, essentially, was another little dude. And you had that at play. Somebody somewhere, though, I think has decided that in season 2, this is going to be much more matriarchal. And what I mean by that is women essentially run this world, with rather few exceptions. And most of the women are the ones who are completely in charge. And I don't have any problem with a story where women are in charge because we're not on Earth. But it does seem to me to be a bit heavy-handed. I also think that going into an overtly lesbian relationship with the main hero and then the secondary hero of season 2, I think that's playing into a trope now that we've had enough of. Just because also I think some of the traditional sexual relationships and romantic relationships in this show are very much in the alphabet category. And there's only so much of that before you say, is everybody in this show of that variety? Is there no traditional or, any kind of relationship like that? Even with Jace and Mel, Jace has this thing going for the other guy who takes on the sort of Christ-like figure, where there are times when they're hugging and embracing, and you're like, wait a minute, I thought he liked Mel. Now he's a dude with this dude that's just a little too far. Anyway, Nolan taking those critiques that I've got and recognizing that season 2 is still really, really good. What do you make of those criticisms? Do you think I'm off base any?
So I would actually disagree heavily on the first take, a little bit on the second one.
Okay, so for me, first take, restate the first take for people so they
of course,
are hanging with us.
Yeah, I was planning to go ahead and recite. So what we have here is like your criticisms on how the music was implemented during, say, the fight scenes. It's got a lot of music that I do see how could distract the viewer from what's going on. It's a very much an acquired taste sort of thing, not to sound like a prestigious snob in an art museum, but it's like, it's not for everybody. But I am a bit of a sucker for implementing music to tell story. I am more of a visuals type guy, dialogue type guy. I think in an era where, like say, let's take like the MCU, for example, there's a good chunk of people who get drugged to MCU movies that kind of get a little bit of a snorefest during the fight scenes. Now, there's plenty of comic book fans who like seeing all the nerd stuff, where characters are fighting stuff. I find integrating music into what could be seen as a monotonous fight scene kind of creative, because I feel like music is such a good connection to viewers when it comes to feeling emotion. We all listen to music because it's emotional. Like, I don't think I've ever heard of someone listening to a song and they didn't, have at least one song in their life that connected with them, reminded them of emotion. To me, I feel like it elevated it, even though there was a lot of music in this that wouldn't be something I would normally go out of my way to listen to. However, I do see how if the show just keeps doing this over and over again, how it might just seem like becoming more of Arcane the musical than it is Arcane the drama, the show, the acting. So I do get the criticism. For me, I think it really worked because I like seeing something done a bit differently with fight scenes as opposed to kind of the same old. And for a world like this, where they have a lot of really unique kind of abilities and powers, reminiscent of kind of old comic books, the League of Legends series, even though I'm not like a major fan of the games or anything, I know it's very expansive and I think it benefits greatly. To the second comment you have on, has it gone pretty woke? I
far more
feel
than the
like
first season. Far more than the first season, I would say.
It's one of those where I can't tell if this is because of these. It's just naturally like every Hollywood production has to start going this way, or if it's a matter of what else is surrounding it. Because personally, I thought it was like having these kind of connections so close to each other so early on in only the first few episodes does raise a lot of red flags, because we've been trained by Hollywood to always notice of, oh, it's the token lesbian couple. Oh, it's the token gay character, as opposed to seeing these characters for what they are. I personally was getting really attached to these characters and I thought they were really well written. So I really didn't care who they were, kissing or I think, take for example, we saw Agatha here recently when it had the male on male kiss scene. That one felt very ham-fisted, like they were putting it in for the sake of messaging. Here, personally, as someone who was connecting with these characters, I felt like it made sense to progress the story and the connections these characters are going to be facing in the trial, and shows that love shines through beyond everything. However, with all, it would kind of sicken me if I found out behind the scenes that they were doing it for the sake of pushing something, as opposed to these are who we really want our characters to be. And personally, I didn't have a problem with it, but I do see how a lot of people could have issue with it.
Now, the other thing I'm going to say about the show is, in terms of positives, they still do a fantastic job of telling the story through color palettes and coordinations. In particular, there's a scene inside the first act of season 2 where the good guys are all wearing masks, and there's this green hazy fog, and they go into a twisted, psychotic circus kind of environment with black lights. I thought that was one of the absolute best ways of handling psychological tension that I have seen in a very, very long time. It was phenomenal. I thought that was great. I think that the introduction of the little kid with Jinx is quite good. I wasn't impressed with the way the first act ended, because I thought that it put the characters into making some decisions that either were not in character or were forced in a way that was obviously convenient to the script. So, but I have to say that in comparison to Acolyte or Agatha, it's like listening to a single noted kazoo and then somebody turns on Mozart. And I'm comparing it to Mozart that we've had in the past, but then I go, at least it's not that darn kazoo again. So, Nolan, we do this thing where we give it a score. We're going to go 0 to 10, and 5 is average, 0 is terrible, 10 is absolutely brilliant. What would you give the first act of season 2? And then I'll give my score, and we'll average them together for the final score for this.
Okay, I know I'm probably going to get a lot of pushback on this. I am actually going to give this a 10, a perfect score. It is the first time.
Perfect.
Yes.
Wow.
This is the first time in years, and I mean years, that I have been hyped to see characters in, like, I'm literally almost every scene. I want to know, like, what this character is going to do. What trials are they going to go through? I see the girls in this, and it makes me want to create my own characters. I see the dudes in this, and it makes me want to cosplay or create my own costume based off this world. It's refreshing because I feel like so many like designs and ideas lately have been so of much okay, this is what we're going to do, and we're going to tell you how to like it. This one, I feel like it has just so much variety and possibility of what's going to happen. I haven't had, it feels like every time I see a character, it's almost kind of like watching the WWE, where it's like, I feel like every character has like their own backstory, their own fan base, their own style, to where it's like there's just this hype to where you want to know what's new type of things are going to happen when a character interacts with one another. And that's really how a lot of Hollywood movies should be. But personally, I feel like I haven't had this kind of excitement since like monster movies and Star Wars. And it really hit the right emotion. I'd been begging for a big budget, high quality CGI production for years. And I think they kind of got scared off of doing these kind of like movies or shows because I don't think the original like Final Fantasy movies from the early 2000s, for example, did all that well. But do any of you guys remember back in the day when around the time like Arkham City came out, when you had like the Knights of the Old Republic, the Old Republic trailer, the DC Universe Online, when these games were putting huge budgets into like these trailers and these cutscenes. And I'm like, and then I look at the live action side of things and I'm like, why can't DC get this right? Why can't Star Wars get this right? And I feel like this is the kind of show I've wanted for a very long time. So I very much could be biased, but it's been the perfect gateway to this world to me, and it hit every note it needed to. So I don't know. I guess I'm a fan now.
I think you sound like one for sure. And I remember Nolan back when Arkham City came out. A friend and I played that from the time it came out until completion. I think it took us about 3 days, and we would play it in the evenings and play it late into the evenings. And I remember that when we faced off with the Joker in the final boss fight, which featured some stuff with Clayface, I remember actually that we were sad when the game was over because the game was so good that we were hoping there was another act to go along because we were having that much fun. And so I get your feeling and your take on remembering when entertainment was fantastic. For me, I don't think that this is hitting the same high notes as season 1. And so season 1 for me is somewhere around a 9 out of 10. So since it's not for me hitting the same notes as season 1, and that's a 9 out of 10, but it's still really good. Remember that I think 5 should be an average. That's my average score is a 5, which is different than a lot of people. And so I think right now, with room for this to go way up, I think I give it a 7.5. I think there's lots of room to improve. I want definitely to see some stronger male characters come in to sort of balance this, because right now there are very, very, very few male characters that have any kind of real strength to them. I'd like to see that change. But Nolan, I think you've helped us have a much better balanced review score than I would do on my own. Right now, combining your 10 and my 7.5 together, we've got an 8.75, folks. 8 3/4 is where we're at, which is a phenomenal score for any show. In fact, this puts Season 2, Act 1 at the very same score we gave X-Men 97. And X-Men 97 was a really, really good cartoon. We'll see how they do with the next one. But that's your score, folks, for Arcane Season 2, Act 1, 8.75 out of the Pro Channel. And, well, folks, don't go anywhere because we've got more stuff we're going to cover. Nolan, thank you for watching the show, and we'll continue to push forward. We're also going to have more people who've seen it join us for next week, folks, as we continue on. Wait a minute, Martin.
Yeah.
You saw it?
Yeah.
Well, Martin, I feel awful. I haven't been even including you. Folks, we may have to change the score. Martin, give us your expose on it. I did not realize that you had seen it.
Oh, it's okay. Just over here being quiet.
You got to interrupt next time, Martin. You got to do the virtual slappy slap on us and say, hey, it's my turn, darn you all.
You got to be like The View.
All right, I'm getting my little modulator over here ready to change the score. Martin, give us your thoughts, then give us your score after it. The floor is yours, sir.
All right. I agree that the first season was a good season of TV. I gave that probably about a 9. This one, I feel like they're moving characters around, shifting alliances just to create fake drama. And I agree with you. At the end of this first act, there's a face heel turn that just doesn't make a lot of sense. I do think they're falling into the trap of anytime people are close to each other, there must be some sort of attraction there. And that particularly bugs me because I think it affects in the real world male friendship. But I'm going to have to give this one a 7. I could be talked up higher, but I could be talked down lower too. But 7 is where I am.
All right. Well, I wasn't ready for that score that fast. Hang on now. Hang on.
Oh, I apologize. You want me to
now, while you're working on that, I do want to point out something. I was reading an article out of Total Film and Games Radar. They were saying that the series altogether so far has cost $250 million. Now, that is including marketing, but reportedly first season cost $80 million, season 2 $100 million, and that they've spent $60 million per season in marketing the show. So right now, the entire 2 seasons probably costing about the same amount as the Acolyte.
No, this will be easily near the top on Nielsen. We're going to track this, of course. So that's, it could be money well spent. I do think that for the spinoffs that they're intending to have, for those to work well, they need to have this get back on par with season 1. And they can get there, but I think we're going to have to get out of some of these more modern tropes and get back to the excellence, because Arcane season 1 was just so brilliantly fresh. And this seems like it's trying to get into what we've seen before with some of these shows, the way they go. And I'm like, no, you have something beautiful and wonderful. Don't do that. Don't copy. Don't chase after the modern tropes. Don't do that, please. Jonas, let's hit Super Chats. And then we've got a panelist who's going to be joining us to talk about a lot of Disney still to go, folks. We've got about 40 minutes left in the show. We'll be talking about Disney stuff the rest of the way. Super Chats first.
Well, hold on one second here. We've got some notes from the audience here. AnimeZilla44 is saying, I give season 2 a 10 out of 10. That's another rave review along the lines of Nolan's review here. By the way, a recommendation from Jesus Ceballos Jr. You guys should watch Dr. Odyssey and see what they did at the very end of episode 6. It just came out Thursday night. And yeah,
we will have to check it out.
Is that a medical show?
I don't know. I'm going to look it up. And let's see. Tom F here saying, I get season 2 7 out of 10. So it seems like it's in the C's or the S tier, It seems like people either love it or are not quite. I'm not hearing a lot of 9s and 8s in here.
Let's see. I'm going to put a poll out real quick. How do you rank the episodes of season 2 Arcane so far? We're going to find out right now, folks. If you've seen it, go ahead and vote. Let me get these out here. I'm not going to put anything lower than a 7. If you think it's lower than a 7, well, you know what? I'll put 7 or less. We'll do that. That's fair. All right, folks, if you've seen Arcane season 2 part 1, you've got the poll out there. Go ahead and take it. And folks, we'll also, while you're doing that, go ahead and bring on our next panelist.
Who could that be? Let's go see, boys and girls.
Well, folks, it's LW Ghost, the apparition appears once more.
Oh, my goodness. I'm always hiding behind that door. I don't know why, but...
Always hiding behind it. And guess what? You have come at the exact right time because we've got a heck of a story right here. All right, folks, this one's out of the New York Post. It says Disney would never allow Jessica Rabbit and Who Framed Roger Rabbit sequel, says director. They can't. It's by Whitney Vasquez. And by the way, this is another one of those cases where the headline hides just how big of a deal this is. We're going to find out in here that turns out there's a Roger Rabbit sequel that has been waiting, and the script supposedly is fantastic, and it's not allowed to be made. We'll show you why in just a second. Here we go. It says, what's a Who Framed Roger Rabbit sequel without Jessica Rabbit? The film's director, Robert Zemeckis, by the way, I think he's done a few things. I think he knows what he's doing in movie making. Shared his thoughts on a possible follow-up to the 1988 classic that featured the sexy and flirty animated wife of one Roger Rabbit, donned in her iconic red dress that highlighted her hourglass figure. Please, Eddie. While on the October 30th episode of the Happy, Sad, Confused podcast, Zemeckis 72 shared that the current Disney would never make a Roger Rabbit 2 with Jessica Rabbit in it, adding that times have changed. There's Jessica Rabbit. Remember that part of the humor of the movie is that she was drawn that way. She can't help it, just like apparently she can't help playing patty cake. But she was drawn that way. It's not her fault. There's a good script sitting at Disney, Zemeckis said, while disclosing that the movie's original screenwriters, Jeffrey Price and Peter S. Seaman, already wrote a follow-up film. The current Disney would never make a Roger Rabbit today. They can't make a movie with Jessica Rabbit in it. Zemeckis claimed Disney would never go there again, pointing out that the company covered her body up for the Disneyland ride Roger Rabbit's Cartoon Spin Ride in 2021, an update that angered fans. Look what they did to Jessica at the theme park, he said. They trussed her up in a trench coat. And indeed, they did. Boys on the panel, these folks love the ladies of The View more than they do Jessica Rabbit. You're not allowed to be bodacious. Vash, I appreciate you showing what once was and is no more. And by the way, that was already, I think, well covered. But Jessica Rabbit not allowed. Panel, what make you of Disney's continuous attack on the female figure?
Well,
what do you got?
I mean,
what do you got?
Maybe they're mad because they never got credit or royalties for the mini skirt. But
I get what you did there. He's talking about Minnie Mouse, folks. I know what he did there.
Oh, come on. They'll figure it out. You don't have to tell them.
Well, you see what happens,
You're
folks.
too nice
dress
here.
is very short. It's a mini skirt, and then you put it on a mouse. Her name's no, I kid. All right, Lou.
Well, it's once was said that a mini skirt is actually a Freudian slip, but
that struck me just the right way. I'm sorry.
Well, I'm glad. But listen, it's only an issue because they are so free with sexual innuendo, as long as it is same-sex innuendo. If they just said none of that because we're a family company, when's the last time they identified that way? I wouldn't be so upset. But I guess Bob has his. I don't know why, since this issue's been around for so long, he got asked about it again. If in the original interview here he volunteered it, it means he's looking for a gig.
So
that's just the reality of Hollywood.
Yeah, I wonder in this.
Real quick, just to set the table, Who Framed Roger Rabbit is a classic film. Currently has an 83 on Metacritic from critic reviews, 8.2 out of user ratings, and one might think that perhaps modern day critics, would rate this less than for just the Jessica Rabbit situation. But I just want to put this in context. This is considered to be a real classic. I mean, this is one of the best films of the 80s. Go ahead, Jonas.
Yep.
He went on the Happy, Sad, Confused podcast and started mentioning old projects specifically so that we would be talking about the project that he's working on now. And part of me doesn't want to mention it for that specific reason. But Anyways, he did a movie called Here, which is, I think it has a fixed angle and takes place over the course of something like 100 years. And Tom Hanks and Robin Wright are in it, and they de-aged them for parts of the film.
And the
anyways,
film
he talks about
is drop dead.
So it's neither here nor there.
Yeah, well,
that's funny. So he mentioned this, and he also talked about how he would never do a Back to the Future movie at this point, but he would do a Back to the Future musical, which Universal keeps saying no to.
Very interesting.
So there was a script. The issue that I see here is there is apparently a fantastic script for Hooch Frame Roger Rabbit 2,
which would be a fantastic script for a sequel to a fantastic movie.
Right. And Disney no longer has the cover that they used to have. This was a Touchstone movie. This was not a Disney movie. So Michael Eisner set up the shell game here to say, no, it's not a Disney movie. It's Touchstone. It will be a little off color. We're going to make some jokes with Jessica Rabbit that are not Disney jokes, even though Disney paid for this whole movie.
Patty cake. Patty.
They've got Miramax. They've still got Miramax. They've got Fox.
They don't have Miramax anymore, but they do.
Folded
they sold it.
They
do have Fox.
They don't have Miramax at this point. Let's just say.
Yeah. But right now, the company is in a state where they want anything that could possibly be a win construed as a Disney win because they're headline chasers now.
Well, of course, but the big problem about doing a Roger Rabbit movie is Bob Hoskins is dead.
Right. It would have to be set with a different,
John Leguizamo.
Oh my!
The guy who plays Roger, though, the voice actor behind Roger Rabbit, still, can do the voice just fine. So there's a way to do it. I don't know what's in the sequel script, but I just think it's a real shame that you do.
I do.
Vash, the floor is yours, sir. What is in this sequel script? Share, please.
Absolutely. This was such a cool idea. So this was back in the early 90s, right? That's really important to key off here because there's a lot of stuff going on with the Walt Disney Company in the early 90s, like the creation of Disneyland Paris, for example. We'll get back to that in a moment. But the sequel script was Toontown eventually was going to be bulldozed. Unfortunately, the whole idea for the freeways and so forth, I don't know if that was the exact plan, but it was...
Pause for just a minute.
Go ahead.
I want the audience to understand something. I feel like you've been waiting your entire life for this moment. Vash.
Because I love this movie. This is like the one movie that I desperately wanted to see. So the idea was that, yes, Toontown was going to be bulldozed. It was going to be destroyed. And Roger and your lead character, what was the name of the lead detective? Eddie Valiant. They have to go out and find a new home for the Toons. And eventually they come upon Walt Disney, who is making his park in Disneyland, and Walt eventually grants them the rights to actually build a Toontown behind the park. Where were they actually going to film these scenes? Well, there was a new park in Paris that looked surprisingly like Disneyland that they were actually going to film on the construction site in order to film those specific sequences. The cool thing was it was going to have this kind of synergistic moment because at the same time, Toontown, the actual land of Disneyland, was going to be opened as well. So the idea was, hey, the Toons have been back there this whole time, and now for the first time we're letting you back there to see the Toons. But the whole premise was finding a new plot for Toontown, and there's plenty of hijinks that Eddie Valiant and Roger Rabbit actually get into. It was such a cool idea, but apparently they had to share the rights for the Roger Rabbit character with Steven Spielberg, and that's kind of what got this thing off on the wrong foot because they were supposed to share shorts between Amblin Productions and Disney Productions. And unfortunately, I think Steven Spielberg wanted a Roger Rabbit short in front of Arachnophobia. And unfortunately, that was earmarked for another film, I believe Dick Tracy. And that's where the kind of friction kind of resided. Yeah. And because he had 50% rights, he just denied, Steven Spielberg, that is, denied the rights to use the character for any productions going forward. And so, yeah, I think it is a character lost to time. I don't know if you could do it now with the modern sensibilities of the Walt Disney Company, which is what Robert Zemeckis is referring to.
But you could have Eddie Valiant's son. You can always write that in, or you can make it be his nephew for his murdered brother. You could have be that be whoever partners up with Eddie Valiant to try to
because
save
you have to remember, you need somebody like Eddie because you need the interaction with the human world. Otherwise, it's just another cartoon.
Yeah,
they just hired Jack Black.
The other solution is, oh, please no. The other solution is, I guess the other reason that really works is because in a sequel, you're going to need to have someone go through what Eddie goes through, which is, suffering through the antics of cartoons. Because if they're in real life, they're really, really annoying. So having his son or his nephew have to come in and do that would be fantastic. But it doesn't look like it's going to happen because, as we said, Disney and their modern sensibilities will never allow us to have things that we enjoyed. We loved them. They became iconic. People were doing this character to their body, Jessica Rabbit.
Are you trying to say, quote, this is why we can't have nice things, unquote?
Well, Lou, there's you remember the part in the movie with Betty Boop where she shows up as a server for Eddie?
Yeah.
I think she has some quotes in there that folks should go check out because she's got some comments about how it's getting hard for black and white cartoons these days. It's getting hard for cartoons of a feminine figure these days. Jessica Rabbit has been Betty Booped. That's what I'm saying. All right, man, any thoughts on that?
I was going to say that you hear about movies, hey, this is a great script. It's one of the best scripts I ever had. Nobody's going to make it. But at the same time, you also hear people talk and swear up and down that, the script for Superman 4 was the best script I ever read. And that's not what ended up on the screen. So, maybe it's for the best that we don't get a sequel to Roger Rabbit. Maybe it would have been for the best that we don't get a sequel to a lot of things we have gotten sequels to.
I'm of the opinion on general principles, there's too damn many sequels anyway. Come up
but
with
it doesn't
something
stand
new.
alone as an iconic film. So,
But for a studio to say, no, we're not going to do that is in defiance of their usual policy, which is a sequel of a hit is safer because it's already been, the audience has been warmed up for it already, and we have more likelihood of selling more tickets. So, I don't know.
Disney wanted to franchise that film so bad. I mean, they wanted to develop so many different projects for that specific, what was an emerging franchise for them. Big ticket. At the last minute implementation of a lot of Roger stuff into Disney MGM Studios, for example, was a reflection of that. They wanted to expand it out with lands and themed experiences and so forth. They were working on shorts actively at the time.
Those Roger shorts are great if you can find them.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. But they had to mothball them because, some trouble emerged early on and they just never could get over that. And now, I think Roger Rabbit would work pretty well in the modern era, but it's just, is there a hunger within the studio anymore? I don't think there is.
Jonas, read this one, please, because it fits right in with the conversation. Right. I don't want to miss it.
Aldo Casabona for $4.99. DEI keeps getting in the way of good stories, but Ariel is still in a seashell bra in 2023. Funny how they pick and choose as long as we get the modern message. Also, Ariel's like 16 years old, so come on, Disney.
Well, they tried their best to change Ariel. You'll notice they have tried every possible way. They tried Hallie. They tried this new Disney Junior show, and none of it's sticking. And now they're having to go back to the original Ariel look for the Hollywood Studios show. I don't think they're happy about that. But trust you me, they're working hard to change Ariel. They're just not successful yet. Let's talk about some more things that they're not being successful with. And here we go, folks. This is D23 out of Brazil. I want to show you this because we have said recently with a very highly placed source that there's now a 30% chance that they choose not to fill the Rivers of America. And we're still holding that it may not go through. I want to sort of bridge the gap on how that can be and D23 announcements happening at the same time. So let's take a look at this. As some of you may know, they're doing a D23 conference down in Brazil, and it says Disney reveals trackless all-terrain ride system for new Magic Kingdom Cars attraction. All right, here's what it says. At D23 Brazil, Disney offered a glimpse into the new car-themed attraction planned for Magic Kingdom's Frontierland by showing a test video of the ride system. The video appears to confirm our previous report that the attraction will use a trackless, all-terrain ride system. This marks a significant departure from the traditional slot car approach seen in other Disney car attractions like Test Track at Epcot and Radiator Springs Racers in California. Folks, you can also read this to say it's going to have a lot of downtime. The concept art released earlier raised questions about how this new ride would function, as the images showed cars navigating rugged outdoor terrain with no visible track or guide slots. This led to speculation that Disney Imagineering might be using a different, possibly more advanced ride system to deliver the promised experience of climbing mountain trails, dodging geysers, and splashing through mud holes. You're not going to go through a real mud hole. I mean, they might do an effect. These things are not going to go through real mud holes. All right, so let's just say, because I know this article goes through, an all-terrain vehicle and what this would be like. Nobody cares. As long as it stays on the track and it drives through it, then it's like Test Track. I don't care if there's a little bitty beam down the middle of the road that keeps the car from, flying off, or if there's not.
Had that toy.
Right. As long as it stays on the road, the effect is the same. So it just doesn't matter unless there's some kind of variability, but you're probably only going to ride this once. So then who cares about that either? So this is all a bunch of nonsense. I just want to, and I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just saying whether or not it's on a track that you can't see anyway because they would hide it, or it doesn't have a track, it's the same ride experience. There's this is cool for the sake of being cool, but there's nothing that's going to change the experience for the guest. Now, let's get to the point of this. If they're announcing this at the Brazil 23, does that mean that they're definitely 100% going to fill in Rivers of America? Well, no. And the reason for that is they have plenty of land north and northwest of Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, as well as north of New Fantasyland. It's probable that they're going to do this stupid thing that will really damage the park and damage themselves because they make stupid decisions. That's just what modern Disney does. But there's nothing to say that they cannot go forward with this and just plop it in the other, dozens and dozens and dozens of acres of expansion pads they have. So I don't want to get too far into, this definitely means that Rivers of America is gone and all that. Probably, yeah. But again, we hold to that source that says 30% chance they can't do it because it's getting more and more expensive. It's getting more and more problematic. All kinds of issues for it. Panel, and I guess we'll start with Vash, because Vash, you've got some stuff. What do you make about this announcement? And does it matter one iota? Does it matter any, Vash, whether or not this thing is on a track or whether or not it drives on a track?
Yeah, this is the video in question right here. You can actually see a test being conducted, I guess, by the Imagineers to I guess, get a sense of the feeling that they want for this attraction. I'll say this.
Vash.
Oh, go ahead, please.
In a normal ride system, there's a little teeny weeny beam that goes between the wheels so it can't come off.
Yeah.
What does it matter if there's a beam or not?
If you're, I guess the details for this is that it's like a wireless attraction or a Wi-Fi controlled vehicle, something like Ratatouille, for example. So on that level, it doesn't quite matter. I will say, though, this is pretty ambitious, and I say that in a way that, look, the reliability is going to be a huge issue with this thing. I have no idea how they're going to be able to keep these vehicles.
It doesn't rain, Vash, in Florida.
That's the thing, right? It rains. That's its own thing. And there is no Wi-Fi control vehicle that I know of in outdoors that runs in the rain. Even Luigi's Rollick and Roadsters over there and
can you imagine if they use real dirt? Can you imagine if they use real dirt? Like they're showing off in this.
They're not.
I mean, you're talking about
There's no way.
Mud everywhere on every single Florida summer day. Give me a break. I don't listen. No. I want them to be ambitious. I want them to put out something that's impressive. But don't pretend we're stupid. This can't work in Florida with real dirt and without a track. It can't.
No, they're not going to use real mud. There absolutely is no way, especially with the capacity constraints and so forth, how frequently these vehicles are going to be going over that track. There is no way they're going to use real mud. But it is interesting because, first of all, it is going to be outside. So reliability is key here. And again, if there is any variance whatsoever, like Rise of Resistance, for example, it uses that same ride system. If there's any variance in how these vehicles navigate the course, if they're off by even a millimeter, that ride goes 101. That's just what happens here. So I'm not sure how they're going to keep the uptime on this. That is a question. And again, this is in a space that is occupied currently by attractions that can more or less operate in the rain, or at least have a variety of experiences that are you can still ride them even if it's raining. The other part of this is, I think Joshua had the best thought on this. He says they're planning to destroy a third of the world's most popular theme park to duplicate an experience that you can find almost anywhere 20 miles outside of a major city. To do like a rally race type of adventure like this, I think he's right. I think it is a little basic. And so to transform this part of the park for this kind of experience, I think is a wrong move.
It's idiotic. I mean, I'm seriously, this is so stupid. This boggles the mind with the level of stupidity. It reminds me of if they came out and said, we're going to do a ride vehicle with one wheel. It's going to be amazing. One wheel. And then you just think for a minute and you go, why? Who cares if it's got one wheel or two wheels or three wheels? If it's the same ride experience, then who cares? So as soon as it rains, because if they're not going to use real mud, so they're going to have to use some sort of concrete. Okay. Right. So if it's concrete plus water, they're not going to be able to run this.
No.
Even when it's wet.
So I have a couple of questions.
It's wet a lot in Florida.
Radiator Springs Racers goes down every single time it rains. Go ahead.
So I have a couple of questions here. In this, is it supposed to be that these two cars right here are currently being navigated by the guidance pucks?
No. This is a test. This is a test to show
just two guys
whether or
going
not they can
around
actually do this.
This is two guys going around on a go-kart on a dirt bike track
Correct.
Okay. I don't think they're going to do this. I just really don't.
The fact that they put out a video of they made a little dirt track and they had people ride around in a little buggy.
This is Kilimanjaro Safari without the animals to me. This is not impressive.
They are saying Disney Experiences Chairman Josh D'Amaro reiterates at D23 Brazil that construction on Cars in Frontierland and Monsters Inc. land in Hollywood Studios begins next year.
Well, and they wouldn't tell us where it's going.
Where does the Cars theming enter into this? Are they going to? Is this going to be an autonomous vehicle? I don't know.
Please fire Josh tomorrow. Please fire
again. I wonder. I would rather put my kids in this right here that exists right now. If Disney did an experience like that somewhere and they only had it, when it wasn't raining or whatever, they could charge more money for that than they could for a Cars quote unquote e-ticket attraction. But
where you don't ride with the cars that you know.
Right. And also the fact that they are going to be cutting out things that work. I mean, obviously it's Rivers of America. It's the Liberty Bell. It's not things that are traditionally on the, they might be on the app, but they're not the kind of thing that a little kid usually goes, ooh, I want to go over there and ride that because Disney is just like so much confetti being thrown around these days. They will tear out anything in order to put something like this there. And we look at the failure rate on Tiana, and we look at the failure rate on Star Wars Rise of the Resistance, and even the failure rate on Moana Journey of Water, which thankfully you can still walk through for the most part, even when that's busted. But I don't have faith that the current Disney company can actually create a working attraction. And if this is what you're going to do, why not put it in the Tomorrowland Speedway and maybe not theme it to dirt bikes or whatever this is? I was trying not to be negative on this.
No,
but
this is.
But
stupid.
you've convinced me.
So stupid.
This is dumb.
They literally made a little tiny dirt track and then had people slowly drive dirt carts. I don't even know what you call these little vehicles they're in. They made a dirt track and then they slowly drove something on a dirt track and then released that in Brazil. as if that's anything anyone cares about.
They should just expand.
Did you need this? Or could you have just said, hey, to the thousands of people out there with a dirt track in your neighborhood, go get us some footage real quick so we can see what it would look like if we also had a dirt track.
It's a bad move. It's a bad move.
Well,
the reliability,
guys, the core of the announcement is we're working on a new ride system. Whether it winds up in this attraction or whether they fill the rivers, all of that is pie in the sky speculation. But the question becomes the words you use, Pro, the ride experience. It's not about how it looks from this POV. It's not about how it looks from the other cars or from the people waiting to get on. It's about how it feels to be riding it. And if it doesn't feel any different substantively than, I don't know, the Indiana Jones ride or any of the others, who cares?
Right.
Who cares? And if it only seems different if they advertise, hey, and by the way, this doesn't have a track or a wire, well, that's nice. That's nice for engineers to play with. But how does that affect my having fun?
And that is going 10 miles an hour. Who in the world said, yes, let's get a dirt track where we can go 10 miles an hour and let's replace all the beauty in the Magic Kingdom and let's risk the biggest, most important asset in the entire Disney portfolio for a concrete giant dirt track where we're going to do 10 miles an hour with cartoon characters we'll invent. Oh, I'm sorry. Is this Galaxy's Edge all over again? Yes, it is.
But your feet will never touch actual dirt.
And Epic Universe should absolutely weep with joy because there is no better advertisement for people to go to Epic Universe than this. Vash, what else did they come up with at D23? What else we got?
Well, we have a story out of Entertainment Weekly, actually, talking about the Villains Land. Disney World reveals 13 villains set for Twisted Villains Land. Dark new details. Oh, sorry about that. Do apologize. May not be a happily ever after. This was kind of interesting because we had never really heard what villains might actually be featured. And we also have a storyline for this new land. Apparently, it's going to be a land that will follow a mysterious spell that summons all the Disney villains in one place. In our story, a mysterious spell has been cast, summoning villains from every realm.
Facilier?
Oh, yeah.
It is Facilier. Yeah, it's a good...
yeah.
Yeah.
I thought he was not a member of the club anymore.
Well, let's see, because I didn't see him on the list here. We have, Queen of Hearts.
Have a picture from there is a picture out there of all the people they're advertising at this current moment.
All right. Well, you find that, Jonas, and Vash, read them off for us.
We have Queen of Hearts from Alice in Wonderland, Jafar from Aladdin, Lady Tremaine from Cinderella, Yzma from The Emperor's New Groove, Cruella de Vil, 101 Dalmatians, Captain Hook, Peter Pan, Gaston, Beauty and the Beast, Mother Gothel from Tangled, Ursula from Little Mermaid, Hades from Hercules, Chernobog from Fantasia, both versions of the Evil Queen, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and Maleficent, Sleeping Beauty. No, like you said, Lou, no Dr. Facilier featured here. That just tells you that they don't want to have anything to do with that character seemingly going forward.
But how did that picture get out as being associated with this?
Well, that is independent.
Is that the latest version of, oh, we can put Bluey in the campground, nobody will mind?
That was probably for Mickey's Not So Scary, I would think.
Yeah. It's kind of like how it's kind of how like sometimes you'll read an article about Disney World and the writer of the article knows so little about what they're writing about that you'll have a Disneyland picture.
Right.
Yeah, always.
Exactly.
And may I say that, as I call it, Bloomin' Onion Land, blackened Bloomin' Onion Land. If they try to be scary, really scary, a la Epic Universe, they can't possibly succeed. Disney villains are not about scary. They're about evil and formidable opponents for our heroes. But they're about they're trying real hard to be mean, but they can't help it. They're screw-ups. Disney villains are funny evil.
Well, you know,
if you go with that, you could have a great land. You could have a great land.
Here's an accidental saving grace of this of Disney and this land right here. Looking at this, for those of you who can't see it at home, I was trying to blow it up more, but this is as large as it gets. But it's the evil queen. Sorry, the Queen of Hearts, Jafar, Maleficent, Lady Tremaine, who was just some evil stepmother, Yzma, Cruella de Vil, Captain Hook, Maleficent, Gaston, the evil queen from Snow White, Mother Gothel, Ursula, Hades, Chernabog, who is the devil, and that is another Maleficent down in the bottom right corner. So she's pulling double duty, apparently. You know who's not here? Of course, Dr. Facilier. The other thing I notice is there's no recent Disney villains. Why are there no recent Disney villains? Because recent Disney movies don't have villains.
So,
they're automatically excluded.
Let me rain some reality down on Disney for a minute. Everybody, let me put this in perspective. I want you to imagine that they announce a new land is coming to, I don't know, Magic Kingdom. And it's going to be Mickey's Storybook Circus, Mickey's Birthday Land, whatever we come in, okay? They're gonna put in a new land. And rather than tell you any attraction or the layout or the experiences or the food or the outfits or anything of substance, they just gave you playing card images of Mickey Mouse, Goofy, Donald Duck, Minnie Mouse, and they said, here's a first look at the Disney characters coming to Mickey's Birthday Cake Land at Magic Kingdom Park. That would be the most nothing burger, stupid announcement. And they think that this is impressive in any way. They have nothing to announce. Nobody is going to call them if they're like, you know what, let's swap Cruella out with Scar. Nobody's going to call them out on that because this is dumb. There is nothing to this announcement. You literally named off 12 or 14 or whatever it is, 15 villains. You named 15 villains from your roster of villains and said, Villains Land. Here's 15 random characters we named.
And they named one of them twice.
Lottie Frickin'
The villain's so bad they named her twice.
I'm also going to point out that did you know what you were saying when you said they're playing card characters? Because these are literally images. Who is it? Somebody named it in the chat.
Probably Lorcana.
Yeah, they are Lorcana.
And then they think we're going to sit here and we're going to, if it was the Mickey characters, they think we're going to sit here and be like, ooh, do you think it's going to be Chip or Dale that gets to be in it? Oh, I don't know. They might change that out. Okay, let's really think about this. Nobody cares.
Oh, there's
unless it's
wish
Kingdom
you were
Hearts.
Right. I wish you were right.
Oh,
there's
I think
people
we're
out
right.
there having that conversation about Chip and Dale. I mean, we've heard them. Come on, we know those people.
Chip and Dale, Lou.
But let me suggest something else. Remember when D23 was here not that long ago, and we all sort of laughed derisively at the people who paid whatever they paid for the super duper ticket? How'd you like to do all that and get yourself to Brazil and back? Ooh. Boy, talk about a ripoff. And Americans did it. Some Americans of great means and not much sense said, hey, let's go to D23 in Brazil.
How much did this cost, Vash? How much does it cost to get into D23?
Oh, in Brazil? I'm not sure how those figures in front of me, but
going in the announcement for Villains Land on another continent is here. We pulled up 15 random Lorcana cards, and there's your announcement. There's what we're doing. 15. It's like announcing a land and saying, okay, well, we're going to show you the food that's going to be in there. Here's a stock photo of a chicken nugget. Here's a stock photo of a corn dog. Here's a stock photo. And you think we're going to be excited about that? You think that counts as a legitimate announcement?
Make sure it still has like the watermark from like Shutterstock or whatever on the image still when they put it up on the screen.
Here's a stock photo of a Caesar salad. Now you know everything about the land you need to know. Get excited.
I got a question that I think is quick.
Please.
All right, so you got Dark Universe opening. That seems like a dad section of a park. It's even got a steakhouse. Is this Disney responding with, we're going to open a wine mom section of the park?
This is Disney responding with a white dudes for Harris answer.
Come on, this is things we can't take back.
Like Lou has said, this is responding to I got the pricing information right here for you. You can see that right there. This is them responding to Epic Universe's Dark Universe with the characters that they have. Unlike what Dark Universe actually did, which was announce the characters along with the ride system that was actually going to be utilized, or a look into the audio animatronics themselves, they decided to go with their cast of characters, thinking that the brand is strong enough to carry this whole project. Again, we haven't really seen anything concrete. We've seen one piece of concept art versus, they're making a whole rally track for the whole cars thing, which is the thing that I think they really want to bring on board with this whole Frontierland Beyond Big Thunder project. Look, the Villains Land could be really, really cool. It's just, I've already seen the conversation online where people are like, hey, they don't do scary anymore. They've taken scary out of things like Snow White's Scary Adventures, for example. Now Snow White's Enchanted Wish at Disneyland. Splash Mountain becoming Tiana's Bayou Adventure removed a lot of that thrill element, a lot of the the scary portions of that, and gave you a generic storyline. Do we necessarily trust them to even provide a version of the villains that is scary or twisted or macabre or whatever? I just don't really buy it. So I think a Villains Land would have really done gangbusters business years ago when you had Imagineers who were willing to take risks. Yeah, somebody's already Aldo in the chat in a counter. Exactly right. They just don't do stuff like that anymore. So putting our
Vader there, Vash, because at least then he could have been in the park at one place.
Yeah,
that's how bad Disney screwed up their franchises. That's how bad. All right, folks, that's the show for today. Fire Josh tomorrow. I don't care if he's the mouthpiece, the mousepiece. He's a terrible piece of making the parks fail. So get rid of Josh tomorrow. I'm calling for it. Fire Josh tomorrow. Until Bob Iger's gone, don't change the parks. Just leave them alone. Man, it's just terrible stuff they're doing. And
how's the weather at D23 in Brazil? Chilly today, Josh tomorrow. Anyway, which I just looked up, by the way. Just for a weekend hotel on cheap flights, another $1,400 just to get there for it, and $1,000 to go, only to find out, hey, mud track and fill-in trading cards. Aren't you glad you came?
Yay! And we lose the Liberty Bell, the Rivers of America, Tom Sawyer Island, all the ambiance for that.
Oh, wow. You retro stick in the mud.
Yep.
Old Renaissance trees and water.
Oh, sorry. Old Renaissance Boomer for $2. Disney Imagineers have no imagination left.
Listen. All the talent went to Universal and to other projects that we know about that we don't yet talk about much. But yeah, all the talent's gone. It's gone. All right, well, there's tons of talent here on the panel, folks, and we hope that you will go subscribe to each and every person here, whether it's Nolan Thunder or Vash over at That Pod Place.
Tomorrow. Vash and I do our magic.
Tell them about it.
Well, Vash is the spokesperson. I'm just
Vash. Tell us about
it. Tomorrow on That Pod Place, we are having Hollywood Backlot with Lou and you talking about all the props in Hollywood. Very interesting stories along with that. Maybe the fate of the ruby red slippers from Wizard of Oz. That might be an interesting discussion right there that we are going to have tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern with Lou Osman's Ghost right below me right there. So if you have any questions, make sure you go ahead and email us at t3ponline@yahoo.com, and we'll answer your questions in the chat as well. Join us, 2 p.m. Eastern. That's tomorrow.
There you go. Jonas, we've got one more.
Aldo Casabona for $1.99. Thanks for the company this evening. Thank you for the company this evening, Aldo.
And power to the 199. Folks, we're going to see you real soon. 4 videos a day right here on the Pro Channel. Don't miss out on a single one as we continue to tie Holly Weird up in knots, telling you exactly what's going on. They don't like it. Not for a single second, but we continue to do what we do because we do it for you. Folks, We'll see you real soon. Pro Show Tuesdays and Thursdays at noon, and we'll have another Arcane review Saturday at 10, 1 week from now. Nolan will be back, plus Martin and more. Until the next time, folks, we wish you well. Happy weekend. Stay safe out there, and see you soon.
The mainstream media just can't understand how it is we continue to do what we do. They don't realize that we are powered by you, and you are...
1.21 gigawatts! 1.21 gigawatts!
Folks, we've still got decades and decades left in the can. It drives the mainstream mad.
Would it make you feel any better if you knew that what we're asking Matt here to do is a holy thing?
You see, we're on a mission from God. We're on a mission from God.
Now you're gonna put me right back in the joint.
They're not gonna catch us. We're on a mission from God.
So, folks, as we always say, as we end each and every show here, and we mean it, keep learning, keep growing, and as always, keep having fun.
Every time they hit him, he stood back up again. So they hit him harder. Still, he got back to his feet. Standing man.